So I think the Philadelphia Eagles are definitely going to win the NFC East. If I was to present a confidence level in terms of which teams I think are going to be shoo-ins to win their division, the Eagles would definitely be up there. They don't have an elite quarterback. I think Jalen Hurts as a person is the kind of leader that you want on your team 100%. But I don't believe in his ability to throw the football at an elite level and fit it into tight windows, which is really what you need, particularly in the red zone. And I think to win the Super Bowl, you need somebody who can sling it, and somebody who can operate from within the pocket. Now, that can change, right? And even the great running quarterbacks in this league, like I am the biggest Lamar Jackson defender in the world. Like Lamar Jackson has an arm and he can fit it into tight windows. He has a quick release. He has a great placement on the ball, and he can operate within the pocket and also run and make plays with his legs. I don't really have the confidence that Jalen Hurts can do that. But every other position on this team is stacked. I mean, in my opinion, they took a top 5 player in the draft in Jordan Davis, defensive tackle. Fletcher Cox is still on the team. So I don't know how anybody's going to run the ball on the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think they have a decent secondary, right? I mean, it's not going to blow you away, but they still have Darius Slay. And they just traded for that safety who they're going to extend from the Saints. I'm blanking on his name right off the bat, but it's Chauncey Gardner. Yes, Chauncey. Chauncey Gardner Johnson. So plus they have a top 3 offensive line in the NFL, and they can run the ball at will, and they have the ability to pass to their 2 talented receivers, especially on RPOs and on play action. So now that they have A.J. Brown and now that they have Devontae Smith, who's their second receiver, which is incredible.
And who do 2 different things, too. Like A.J. Brown is just like a squatter, stronger receiver who is not just a slot guy for how short he is, and Devontae, who is like a kind of field-breaking speed finesse guy.
But they both can do they're both versatile too, right?
For sure.
I mean, they traded away Jalen Reagor to the Vikings, which is hilarious. But like, this is why it's people don't remember the Vikings were caught on camera during like the Zoom COVID draft, laughing at their draft pick because the Eagles passed up on Justin Jefferson, and and they took Jalen Reagor instead.
Yeah. So and now with the trade, now Reagor and Justin Jefferson are teammates.
So I enjoyed that, and at the time, as a Giants fan, I was laughing at the Eagles, but I'm not laughing that much now because Howie Roseman understands how to build a team, and outside of the quarterback position, I have no doubts about this team, and they have extra draft picks if they wanted to acquire a disgruntled quarterback next year. I don't know who that would be now that Russell Wilson has gone to Denver, but could be anybody in this new NFL. I think that they are just like primed for success for quite a long time. I have the Dallas Cowboys finishing at 2nd in the division because the Giants and the Commanders are not good. But for me, I see the Cowboys taking a significant step back this year. Now, I don't know if CeeDee Lamb is ready to take on the wide receiver 1 role to the extent that the Cowboys might think so. Amari Cooper is inconsistent, but he does draw coverage, and they're not very... Michael Gallup's still working his way back, but they lost James Washington.
Cooper's on the Browns now.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying in terms of their... No, never mind. I thought they were saying in terms of their, like, diverging skills.
But my point being is just like, I think that maybe they are not taking into account that kind of loss. And the offensive line is not what it was. I think people are still living 5 years ago with the Dallas Cowboys offensive line, especially now that they lost their left tackle to injury, who, he seems to have been struggling for a few years with injuries. So I don't see the offensive line being good. Ezekiel Elliott, it's just like that contract is a complete albatross around that franchise's neck. And the defense has one player that I believe in. And Diggs is good, but Micah Parsons is a superstar. But at the same time, like, I don't know if that's a cohesive defensive unit.
Also, I have a issue with the framing of Trayvon Diggs in the sense that
just because he has a million interceptions means he's the best corner in the league.
Right. Like Deontay Lee at Pro Football Focus, he's done a lot of digging in terms of like analytics into Diggs's work outside of the interceptions. And a lot of it is like he's almost beaten coverage more because he's looking for the interceptions. Like the interception numbers are gaudy and great, and you really can't argue with double-digit picks. But if the coverage is terrible otherwise, I could see that regressing significantly. I'm not necessarily anticipating him again getting like 12, 13 picks a second year in a row.
Yeah, right. And I'm in total agreement with you, because if you're a great corner, they're not throwing at you. So you don't have the capacity to make interceptions. And so like I think sometimes, you know, casual fans like to look at those numbers as a shorthand to understanding. But to be honest, that I just like, I think maybe that's more of an applicable stat if you're judging safety play. But for corners, like Jalen Ramsey is just, he's not going to have a ton of interceptions on the year because they're just not. The Super Bowl is a notable exception. Really bad game for him, even though they ended up winning, but they're not going to throw his way. Now, the Giants and the Commanders, either one of them are going to finish last in the division. I'm not exactly sure. The Giants are rebuilding once again, and it's been a frustrating process. Dave Gettleman has set back this team significantly, but luckily Joe Shane is a competent general manager, and it seems like they made the right decision by not granting Daniel Jones his fifth-year option. So right now he's playing on quite a low salary and will walk away as a free agent next year if the Giants don't franchise tag him, which I anticipate they're not going to do. The Giants are going to be one of the teams, in my opinion, one of the many teams like the Atlanta Falcons and the Houston Texans that are in the running for a quarterback in the draft next year. And Daniel Jones is better than, say, Tua. Daniel Jones is better than Geno Smith. Daniel Jones is better than, I would say, like maybe 8 starting quarterbacks in the league right now. But that doesn't mean that he is a good starting quarterback or an elite starting quarterback. And I almost feel bad for him because what the Giants did under Dave Gettleman's tenure was set him up for complete failure all the time. The Giants have had the worst offensive line in the NFL for 5 straight years. And Andrew Thomas is coming on as a left tackle. I believe in Evan Neal at right tackle more than have believed in a Giants first round pick since I can't even remember when.
Justin Pugh.
I actually thought that was a reach at the time, but perhaps he was decent though. But like in terms of a first round pick, like Jason Pierre-Paul.
Yeah.
Who ended up being good. But yeah, the Giants, like, they have some nice pieces. I think Kadarius Toney, I have no idea whatever the hell is going on with him. He's a bit of a mystery. He's always dealing with some sort of nagging injury, and I don't know how much he is bought into the team. Wan'Dale Robinson's a decent wide receiver pick that they got in the draft, but like right now, Shane was just forced to restructure Leonard Williams' contract, and he's the best player on the Giants, which says everything you need to know about the Giants. So that he's going to be paid like over $30 million this year. Like Gettleman has set the team up for a really, really rough 2022. And the only reason I have them above the Commanders is because I believe that in Daboll's offense, and I think he's going to make some creative schemes. I think Saquon will have a decent year, even though I think that this regime will let him walk at the end of this year. And I believe in the coaching staff like Wink Martindale, who is going to set up some creative blitz packages and make some of these teams, and the Giants have a fairly favorable schedule, kind of unsettle them a bit. And so I believe in the ability of the coaching staff to put them over the edge so that they are a little bit better than the Commanders this year. But again, these final 2 teams could be interchanged.
And the thing with the Giants, too, is it seems like that we'll get to a few of the other teams where I feel this way, is that the Giants are a team that makes me feel as if with the introduction of Shane as the GM and Daboll as the coach, and what might happen with this team is that they're kind of, I imagine, table setting for a new quarterback.
Yes.
So any of the success that this team has, I think, while I think they will honestly be better than they were under Judge and Gettleman as well, I think is kind of just setting up for who comes after Daniel Jones, whether it's in the draft or free agency.
And I feel bad for the guy because he's like apparently just total robot, obsessive in the building. But the Giants have a terrible secondary. Adoree Jackson hasn't made it through a 16, now 17 game season in quite a while. They have a 3rd round pick in Aaron Robinson at cornerback 2. The linebacking core might even be worse than the secondary. You have like a decent 2 edge guys in Azeez Ojulari and Kayvon Thibodeau. Although
he was quite good, Ojulari last year. He
was Ojulari
one of the
good.
Few bright spots on the team to watch.
Another like grinder, good guy, high character guy. And so I do think that there are some pieces to set them up for the future, but like team building 101. Do not, and the Falcons are doing this the exact wrong way. Maybe we'll get to that. Like the Giants are setting themselves up well with this new regime for future regimes, for future teams, because they are drafting from the inside out, which means you get your offensive line set so your quarterback has success, and you get your defensive line and your defensive end set. This is how you structure a team smartly. And now that they have these pieces in place, you can set it up so that the quarterback can have success. So, the Giants will have a bad year, but hopefully some bright spots given how the offense looks. Now the Commanders, I just do not believe in Carson Wentz. I do not believe in this team's talent. I think Chase Young had a bad year, and I think that he's still dealing with injuries. So who knows what's gonna happen with this guy? Montez Sweat is good, so they do have that as another defensive end. But the rest of the team, man, okay, Antonio Gibson, okay, Terry McLaurin's good, but I anticipate Carson Wentz messing things up for them.
Well, I think Wentz is not only a bad player, he also seems, based on Hard Knocks and other different reports, that he's a kind of a bad person also. So I think he's not only going to be I predict that he's not only going to be a bad presence on the field, he's also going to be a bad presence in the locker room.
He's not even a presence in the locker room. Yeah. Apparently he's entirely aloof and disconnected from the team. I know people love Ron Rivera, and I know maybe he's a decent man behind the scenes, which is, by all accounts, he's a good person. What has he shown me? Yes, they went to the Super Bowl, but I don't necessarily think he's like a Kyle Shanahan where he wins you games just by the coaching, or Bill Belichick, obviously. But
this is the issue I have with Rivera on that team too. Unfortunately, is Ron Rivera is unfortunately the benevolent representative of a noxious, odious, terrible franchise run by some of the worst people on the planet. So I also feel bad that he's in this position, but he took it voluntarily. He's essentially the Sheen on a turd. Yeah, he's Dan Snyder can skip congressional subpoenas and skip congressional testimony and have numerous harassment lawsuits against him in the franchise and say, but look, Ron Rivera is our coach. We like Ron. Riverboat Ron.
And that's the thing, is why I can't put the Commanders over the Giants is that they are dysfunctional from the top down, and the fish rots from the head down. And Dan Snyder is probably the most odious owner in the NFL. Although, there are a lot of bad owners.
There's a lot of competition.
There's a lot of competition, but he might take the cake.